Hey, everybody. Episode 13. Can you believe it? 13 is usually an unlucky number for a lot of people, but it has a place in my heart because I had a baby on the 13th of January in 1969. And today's the 13th episode, so there's some kismet there. I gave my baby up for adoption, and our guest today was also given up for adoption. So we're going to have a little discussion about that. But first, I would like to introduce us all. I'm Sandy Gulliver, and Daryl Annisfeld is co-host. Sandra Baskin is also a co-host, but she can't be here with us today. We're going to just look at her lovely photo instead. And our guest is Patty Babin, Chicago actor, Chicago real, I gotta say the word right, Sandra will be mad. Realtor?
Yep.
She gets mad when people call it realtor. Anyway, she'll be watching this and she's like, I don't know. Never mind. We're talking about adoption. I met Patty on set. One of the first people I met on set when I first started acting. So it's been something like 15 years ago.
Yeah. We
were both extras on a movie called, I think it was Stranger Than Fiction, with Will Ferrell. Sat across from me and Holding all day, and we got along real well, and we've been friends ever since. And it came out eventually that I had given up my daughter for adoption, which prompted her to say that she was adopted. And I had already met my daughter. We had been reunited when she was about 25 years old. And Patty contacted me several years later to say that she just got in touch with her mother. Patty, can you talk us through how that happened?
Sure. Growing up, I always knew I was adopted. My family never kept it a secret. I honestly don't even remember when they told me that I was adopted. So it was just, the way of life. I was adopted. I had an adopted anniversary every year, and I had my birthday every year. But, it never took away.
Nice.
Yeah, they were super people. I was extremely blessed. They were saints, in my opinion. But, it never took away my curiosity, because I would look at my friends and I could see the similarities between them and their parents and everything that they knew, everything that they took for granted, I didn't know about myself. So I was always curious. I was that kid. I would walk down the street and I literally would see somebody and think, oh my gosh, I think they look like me. That could be my mom, or that could be my dad. And during my childhood, I guess I don't remember thinking about it often. However, I did find when my adopted mother, when she passed away and I cleaned out her house, I found a bunch of things that she had held on to that I made for her over the years. And there's always a little glimmer of, I mention, I'm so happy you adopted me. I love you so much. Do you want to keep me? Like all these little strange things. But then, life happens and you get busy. And my mother called me. I was in college, and she said, I was born in Pennsylvania. And she said, the Pennsylvania Bureau of Vital Statistics, they're going to close all adoption records once and for all. You can apply for your original name, or she could apply for me. And I was so busy. I was in college. I was like, yeah, whatever, just go ahead and apply for it. And she did, because she was always supportive if I ever wanted to do a search. She was very open about it. The day I got married, she said she wished that my biological mother could be sitting in the back of the church to see how I turned out. And she's just, I could cry when I think about her, because she is such a beautiful woman. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so she said, she got the information. She said she was going to hold on to it until I was ready. And I'd say when I was about 32, I said, okay, I'm ready. I think I'm mature enough. I'm in a place where I can handle this information. And she gave it to me. But, there wasn't the internet then. So to search for her, I got my original name. I got my mother's original name. And because when I say original name, because she changed her name twice, so made the search that much harder. So Jim and I went downtown to the city of Pittsburgh. We went through death records, birth records, marriage records, microfiche. I mean, we built this whole family tree based on all the information that we found. Eventually, I made some phone calls to people that I thought were my relatives, and I pretended that I was an old classmate of hers, which I probably shouldn't have done, but I did it. I always said I wouldn't do stuff like that, but I did it because curiosity got the best of me. And finally, I'm going to cut to the chase. I figured out who she was. I wrote her a letter and I didn't hear anything back. And I thought, oh man, all right, well, she's not going to write back. But then, there's always the question, did the post office lose it? What happened? So we made another trip to Pittsburgh. We were living in West Virginia at the time. We made another trip to Pittsburgh, and I swear, I said I would never do this, but we pulled up in front of her house, and I sat there, and I was hoping she would come out of the door because I just wanted to see what she looked like. And nothing. I don't think they were home. I wrote a note in the car. I ran to her door. I slipped it in her door. And then I ran back in the car and we left. And then in the meantime, when we got back home to West Virginia, there was a letter in the mailbox from her. She was finally responding to my first letter. And it was pretty cold. And it was saying, is this best for everybody involved? Are you sure you want to do this? You should be happy that you're well loved. And everybody has a little bit of mystery in their life. And that was it. So I was pretty depressed about it because I thought, wow, that's really cold. I just couldn't wrap my head around it. And then I kind of got into a headspace that, wow, I came from somebody that's not very nice. And, you don't think of all the emotions that are involved. So I put it aside. I said, whatever, it's not meant to be. And out of the blue, and about a year later, she called me on the phone. Caught me off guard. We had a 2-hour conversation, which was lovely. She told me some things that I wanted to know. She told me some things I would rather have not known, some things that were pretty hurtful about the situation. And then that was it. And then 10 years went by. I kept sending her Christmas cards and whatnot and writing her letters. And I wrote one more letter and I said to my husband, I said, this is it. This is the last letter I'm writing. And if she never responds again, I'm closing that door. It's over. I wrote it, didn't hear for 6 months. I got a letter that she had been battling cancer and thought that it was time for us to meet. And she would like to start with phone calls for 6 months and develop a relationship, which we did, and it was great. And then I went to Pittsburgh and we met. And that was an amazing day. When you go to somebody's door and they open it and you feel like you're looking in the mirror.
Ooh. How much older was she than you?
19 years.
That's about how I was 19 when I had my daughter.
Okay.
I was always called over the years the young mother because her adopted mother already was an adult, full-fledged adult. So she was a woman and I was just a girl. So even when we met, she was 25, I was 45. I was still considered the young mother. So, but I know the moment when you first look at that person that is your mother and your daughter. And there's really just no way to describe it because it's nothing like you see on Oprah.
Oh my gosh. I can't believe you said that because I have said all my life when I would see these shows on Oprah or these Lifetime movies, and it would be like this, they love each other, they're best friends, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, that is not the way it happens. Always. I mean, I guess some people have that experience, but I've got to believe that a lot of people, like the two of us, don't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we're probably more the norm. There is also a TV show, Long Lost Love or Long Lost something or another that is on one of the cable TV TV stations that I watch, and those people are more like how it happened with us. Although they do have to put on a little theatrics for the camera, I can tell that they're very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's a good TV show. I have to figure out what the name of it, and I'll put it in the link so that people can look it up if they're interested. So, okay, so you saw your mother for the first time. Did you have a whole lot to say? You'd been talking on the phone and
Right.
the letters. What do you say when you actually see her face to face?
Honestly, I didn't even know what to do. I mean, we were standing there. My husband came with me. So I'm 50 at this point. So that's from 32. It started. Now I'm 50, and we finally meet. I was speechless. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if she was going to shake my hand, if she was going to hug me. It was just this very, very awkward moment.
Mm-hmm.
Jim walked me in the door, and then, he left. He said, you two need to have your own space for a while. Then he was going to come back. But he said that the look on my face and the look on her face, and he said probably the look on his face was just amazement. He said he couldn't believe, like, seriously, we're the same height, we're basically the same build. Because she had been going through cancer and lost her hair and was now wearing a wig, same haircut, same color. I mean, it was just like you took a picture of me and aged it somewhat, and there she was. And you know what? It was a lovely day. Jim came back. We talked with her husband. She was very open, and we had a relationship for maybe about 3 years. Lots of, phone conversations, but it got to the point where the comfort zone got really a little bit too comfortable. And she would kind of interject some things like, well, if I raised you. And I'd be like, you know what? You didn't. Mm-hmm. So you really don't have the right to speak to me that way. Mm-hmm. And I would get off the phone and my emotions would be running so high. I would be up, I would be down, I would be all around. It would put me in a tizzy. And I guess the best way I can explain it is that, like, the first year was kind of the honeymoon phase. It was fun. I liked her sense of humor. She was a little bit unfiltered, I felt like she was kind of like I am, but with a really hard edge, and I don't know, maybe life has made her that way. Maybe she was always that way, but it just got too much. We never visited again. I still send a Christmas card. She has stopped since. I don't know. It was just, I don't know.
So do you have brothers and sisters?
I do have a half brother. So when we met for the first time, he still had not known. He's 7 years younger than me, and he had no idea I existed. Oh. So I should backtrack a little bit. Nobody knew I existed because when she was pregnant with me, she was sent to a girls' home until she gave birth. And everybody thought she was in a car accident. So all her life, I was a secret. And now what is she going to do with the secret? And, it's just, I don't know. What was your situation? Did people know?
In my case?
Yeah.
When I got pregnant, I was living in LA. I had gone out there after high school graduation with a girlfriend. Within 3 months, I was pregnant. And my girlfriend moved out because she did not want the people back home in Minnesota to think that she was also that type of girl. And so the whole thing was a secret. I did not tell my parents or any of my siblings until after the baby was born. She was born, and after she was given up for adoption. That was all signed, sealed, delivered. I didn't have to give them my mess to that means we're running out of time, so we got about
no.
5 more minutes. But yeah, my mother is the reason I was so secretive about it, because she told me the day I got my first period, don't you ever come running to me pregnant thinking I'm going to take care of your baby.
Ooh.
So I took that with me all through my teen years, and I knew that that's the last place I could turn if I got pregnant. And so I just made my bed, and then I lied it. Took care of it, and after they signed the papers, all the people at the agency, okay, that's over with now. You can go on with your life. You can just forget it ever happened. What they didn't know was you never forget that it ever happened. You never ever forget, and you take with that secret with you through life. And you maybe you drink too much, maybe you do drugs, but you're never normal again. Even after you're reunited, you're not normal. You're missing something.
Yeah.
So Yvonne was going to be here with us today, but she had some complications with. They just got the COVID shot, so they're not feeling very good. But you certainly helped fill in the gap, Patty. You're a wonderful talker to begin with, and you're very candid about your situation. So it's been really lovely having you. And we could probably talk about this for hours.
Yeah.
Because I know it's a subject that, whether you're involved with it or not, people find interesting. In fact, the first thing they ever say to me when they find out is, "Oh, what was it like the moment you saw her?" And then they'll keep you on for like 2 hours with the question. So I'm sorry that she couldn't spend here. You could have met her. You could have seen how beautiful she is, but it didn't happen that way. So love you, Yvonne, and the kids too.
See, that makes me want to cry. I mean, I just love the fact how honest you are about it, and the fact that you keep pushing through and have this relationship with her, and that it's up and down, and you're working through it, and you're accepting each other.
Mhm.
And you have each other now, and I just think that's really lovely.
Did either of you feel like it was a loss in your life?
Oh, it's a big, for me, it was a big void. That's how you fill it though, with alcohol. No drugs for me. I was never into drugs, but I did have a pretty drunk 10 years afterwards, until I met her. As a matter of fact, we got reunited probably 25 years after she was born. That 25 years, I was pretty much drunk the whole time.
Wow. Having my baby daughter lose her daughter, who lived for 8 days and then she died, and watching her go through that process of grieving. And it took her years to really come to terms with it and to stop having it hurt her so much. So I mean, there are so many different ways that you can get hurt, and that life brings you just things that you never anticipate. And my favorite saying I always say to my children is the journey is going to be the journey, but it's how you negotiate it that is up to you, and how you're going to handle that. But it really isn't, because that's a huge emotion that you can't control. Emotions, they're just
you can't bury them and say it never happened. Just forget about it.
I think that my takeaway on everything, knowing your side, talking to my birth mother, her side, and my side, I never felt a loss. I felt kind of gypped, if that makes sense. You know, like, why don't I get to know anything about my heritage? Every time I go to the doctor, I can't tell anything about family history. Why don't I look like anybody else or have that kind of, genetic bond? You feel gypped, but I never felt a loss. And I guess I really tried when our relationship went south to keep that in mind, that her journey is completely different than my journey. And when you're talking about the loss that you feel, Sandy, wow, that's a lot. That's a lot. I think it's more on probably on the birth mother's side than on the adopted person's side. I don't know. I don't know. And I guess everybody's experience is different. I had a great life. I had great parents, so very supportive. So that helped. Maybe if I didn't, and I never got out of foster care, that would have been, another can of worms. So there's so many layers and so many different variables and situations, but to you.
Same to you. That's, I do think that nowadays they have open adoptions where you get to see pictures of your child every year and maybe even get to meet them in some sort of a situation every so often. So you know where they are and they know kind of who you are. I think that's so much more beneficial than just shutting the door. And I looked it up, I Googled it before the show to see what states still have the closed sealed records, and it's pretty much all of them except for a handful. To be so secretive, and especially in this day and age when we just have to have a DNA test and all of our relatives are coming out of the woodwork.
Yeah. I just did 23andMe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did Ancestry, not to find her because I already had. Why did I? Just curiosity, I guess. And I got a lot of interesting surprises out of that too. So all good. But reactions are different. I enjoyed the people that I met, that I found through DNA. So I think that we have pretty much covered the initial, what's it like to be adopted? What's it like to give your baby away for adoption? Anything more, and we'd have to sign up for another couple hours of Zoom. So let's end this meeting, and maybe someday we can revisit it again. I did find some books that I read at the time. I was going through all my old books the other day to donate, and I came across 3 that I read at the time. Lost and Found, the Adoption Experience.
Interesting.
Birth Mothers. That let me know that everything I was feeling was just right on target.
So did it surprise you to find out that books had been written? So obviously this was not a one-off kind of thing.
Yeah, a lot of books. 20 things adopted kids wish their adoptive parents knew.
Wow.
So, and then the one that I loved the most is called Journey of the Adopted Self. And that one I gave to Yvonne to read, and so she probably still has it. And that is the story of the adopted child. It's not a story, it's like a documentary of a whole bunch of different situations, and they all have the same experiences. And Yvonne said too, she can identify with a lot that was written in there. But I will put the books up on our Facebook page so people can look those up too. And especially I recommend Journey of the Adopted Self. It's helpful not only for the adult adopted child, but for anybody who's in the triad of the adopted mother, the birth mother, and the adopted child. And with
You both
that,
are very, very brave. I'll tell you that, to even be able to talk about it and
it's
touch it. And
kind of hard to talk about. As you can see, we're both kind of getting a little emotional about it.
Yeah, I mean, you can't help but to get emotional, and because you know, it's things you carry your entire life, feelings that you have, and they're very deep rooted. And as many times as you tell yourself, it's all okay, you know, don't even think about that. You're all good. You're good enough. You're whatever. It's really, really deep. And it comes to the surface every once in a while. So, yeah.
Was there a sense of satisfaction at all for either of you after you found what you were thinking about?
Well, it is gratifying to know that your child grew up in a wonderful home, that they're healthy and they're beautiful, and they look like you and your family. And now you know they're safe in the world and that you can reach out to them, whether you're estranged or currently in touch with each other. You know that they're in the world and they know where you are when they're ready to come back. So that's so you don't move much, but it's easier to track people down in this day and age. But yeah, when I went looking for her, I figured I better hurry up because I had trouble finding her. I had hired a private investigator, and then I found out she wasn't living in the United States anymore. And this was back in the day when I wasn't very worldly. I said, well, how am I going to find her in Europe?
Oh,
So I
wow.
kind of put it on the back burner. So then years later, I said, you know, she's going to get married and that's going to make it even harder because then it's going to be a different name. So I wrote to the adoption agency and I said, can you put this letter in my file so that if she ever comes asking about me, you can give it to her. A week or a month later, she showed up at the adoption agency.
Woo.
Asking the same sort of thing. Do you have any information about her?
Oh,
Went to my file and there was that letter. So you can see how this is something we can talk about forever, because for sure we could write a book. Both of us could write a book.
There are no coincidences, right?
no. I wouldn't say mine is 100% gratifying, because I think all my life I built up this glorious moment in my head, and that she would want to meet me as much as I wanted to meet her. And it really wasn't quite like that. So am I happy I did it? Yes, I'm happy I did it. But I'm sad at the long-term result. But I do believe it's for the best, because there's just too much push and pull. And I think that mentally it wasn't good for me, and maybe mentally it wasn't good for her. I don't know. I just don't know. But I love her from afar, and I wish her the very best. And I thank her for her bravery, for doing what she did, because I did end up with a wonderful life and loving parents. And I think that was meant to be. So.
And I love her too, because she had you, she gave birth to you and made it possible for you to live in a wonderful home with people who brought up the most wonderful daughter that we get to now have as a friend.
Oh.
Who can dance? And man, can she dance?
Yeah.
Well, I will have to say, just, nurture versus nature. So you learn a lot about that. My birth mother was a dancer. So, there's so much DNA, nature.
Yeah, it's not just your gene, everything, your mannerisms, your facial expressions, the way you say certain things, that's all passed down.
Yep.
I never saw my daughter till she was 25 years old. And then a friend at the time said, well, are you sure she's really your daughter? And my husband said, oh, yeah, she is. And she's a lot like me. We're a lot alike. So at any rate, enough about that. We're going to close the show for the day. And I just want to thank you again for being so candid. You're a wonderful guest. And
Thank you.
we will, for everybody, this will be posted as all of our links are posted on our Facebook page, which is called Just Us Talk Show with Sandra Baskin, Carol Anastel, and Sandy Gulliver. Our new episodes always come out on Wednesday at noon. So if you don't think about going to find it yourself, don't worry, because we're going to be pounding you with hints that it's time to go watch the new segment. So having said that, I'm going to say goodbye.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us again.
Thank you
And
so
thank
much.
you, Patty.